And a very pleasant good day to you. This is Owen McCafferty, again speaking on behalf of Professional Fusion on an issue that we believe to be very important for the next year and a half, and that would be analytics as it occurs in your medical or surgical practice, specifically in veterinary medicine, dentistry, and human dermatology. Analytics is coming to the forefront as a means to project that which will happen for the future. In fact, analytics is taking over where budgeting used to be. Now, we don't want to make people hypocrites. Everyone talks about setting up budgets when in fact very few practices do. It's more akin to whatever we did last year, let's add an inflationary factor, let's get down on our knees and pray that we will not have a disruption in terms of patient or client base coming through the door. But analytics provides you with an opportunity to be responsive, not on a monthly or quarterly basis, but on a continuing basis. Daily analytics is the first example that I'd like to discuss. Daily analytics can best be assessed in terms of fee income being generated, transactional activity, man-hour equivalency for work. These are analytics that I think are the easiest to manage on a daily basis. The production on a per doctor basis of income being generated, the production of what's being generated per day, per man-hour of support staff, the gross income being generated both on fees earned and cash collected, all have a bearing that's far more important than playing with your ratios. So on a daily basis, watching and managing the production on a per doctor basis is the most appropriate means for current analytics. Then on a monthly basis, taking a peek at where you sit by doing nothing more than using a modified cash method to take into consideration classic expenses that are predictable. Those expenses would include support staff cost broken down between either hygienist or technician, be that in dentistry or veterinary medicine, or nurse practitioner as it would be in dermatology. Breaking it down further, support staff cost, and that would include assistants, chair sides, non-licensed technicians as it would be in veterinary medicine. Keeping ratio analysis on a monthly basis of what has occurred in terms of cost is much more effective than waiting till the end of a quarter and doing the classic study of budgeting actual versus projected. We find that the attentiveness of easy followed simple metrics to be much more effective than using percentages, playing with your ratios, coming up with color-coded variances, and then waiting a whole month after before you make a decision to do something. So following through on a monthly basis in terms of expenses on a modified cash format I think is most appropriate. I would focus in on support staff cost. Doctor cost is usually pre-programmed. Doctors, as long as they're making their numbers, that is, that the salary that's guaranteed as a minimum is being covered so that all doctors are in a bonus format, is pretty much assumed, at least as it would relate to now until the latter part of 2024. I think in 2025, better start looking at what doctors are generating in income, because they possibly may not be making the guaranteed minimums on a percentage basis. For support staff costs, don't forget your administrative group. That would include your practice managers, your practice administrators, your bookkeepers, your administrative assistants. All of these individuals have a contribution to practice, but follow certain ratios. Project the ratio, follow that ratio through an enduring analytic, And then finally, the greatest analytic that I would strongly encourage you to consider is fee income. Fees need to be adjusted. Despite everything else that you hear, we are in an inflationary economy, and with $35 trillion of deficit, I can assure you that that's not going to be changing in the near future. You have to have increases, at least on a quarterly basis, of the fees. Measure from an analytic standpoint the inflation rate that's published by some sort of governmental savant, and then add to it 2 to 3 points for what we call de facto inflation, and the impact as it relates to medical and surgical costs escalating at a rate far greater than what the measurement would be by the governmental entity. So for example, if we are seeing a projection of 4% inflation, add to that at least 2%, and that would mean that per quarter your increase in your fees would be at least 1.5%. That's also the most moral way to do it too, because when you wait once a year to raise your fees, those poor souls that are coming in right after a fee increase pay 6% more, whereas if you raise your fees per quarter, the rate of increase in the variance of the standard deviation of cost is only about 1.5%, far more of a moral activity. Don't forget analytics, ladies and gentlemen. Don't worry too much about budgeting and projecting. Worry about the here and now, because you can make changes immediately that cause there to be a resulting benefit. So with that in mind, this is Owen McCafferty. I'd like to say thank you for considering these ideas. And remember, theory is useless. It's action that really makes the difference.